Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg. Today we're playing some of the Titanfall 2 campaign. So that's what I've been playing the last couple days. Yeah, everyone else is playing Apex Legends. And I'd rather just replay Titanfall 2. Because damn, is it just a great campaign.
Caution, I'm picking up multiple contacts. Hostiles confirmed. The stalkers appear to be programmed to attack the control room. Caution. I detect traces of poisonous chemicals within the fog.
So,
I can handle it.
Unlikely, pilot. The fog is deadly to organic life. We cannot uphold the mission if you are dead. You will be safe.
this week on this channel,
Pilot, I'm detecting militia forces inside that beacon control room. They are signaling.
we had Metroid, which is now finished. So at some point you'll see Metroid 2.
I recommend we help eliminate these stalkers and then make direct contact with
But I don't know when. At some point.
tactic, pilot. The 40-ton mass of my chassis can eliminate stalkers more efficiently.
And we also had, of course, more Final Fantasy 13. That'll keep on going. And we started up yesterday, hold on, with Simulacra, which should be pretty entertaining little let's play.
Threat neutralized. Well done. Combat efficiency rating. BT-7274 to militia forces. All threats are...
You know, we're just sort of filling in the gaps until Sekiro comes out. Just like everyone else. That's what everyone's doing. I don't know. Maybe. So that's March 22nd. So that's a little over a month from now.
Captain, what is the status of the beacon?
The power is shut down.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. This week, Anthem comes out.
Function. Generates power up to...
And I wasn't really planning on picking it up.
Can you repair it?
But, for one, early sort of discussions about the early release
Understood. Pilot,
seemed to be overall pretty positive.
navigating this facility.
Which,
You must recover.
to be honest, kind of surprises me. So,
Good luck, sir.
people are liking it.
You make it back. We've lost too many down there.
And that alone would not convince me. But I bought a new computer this week. You know, new year, new me, new computer. And you know, it's pretty much for my job, or so I'll tell myself. And so I'm like, you know, screw it. I'm gonna get a new computer, and we're gonna do 2019 right. And so my last few computers have been
It went that way a few hours ago.
built,
I have patched into your helmet display to monitor your progress. The channel is...
hand built, hand constructed. You know,
BT, what's up with these walls?
picked out
scanning. Exposed.
by me or by my brother back in the day, and
Proceed forward with caution.
you know, like a proper enthusiast. definitely dead. Uh, and there's nothing... I don't have anything against building your own computer, of course. If you enjoy doing it, you know, all power to you. And if you really want to just, you know, squeeze every penny out of a build, doing it yourself is the way to go. But I never really found that it particularly excited me to put together a computer. Like, I mean, I know how to do it. It's not a big deal. On a basic level. But, yeah, you know, doing it yourself does have some risks and some potential problems. You know, you might have to... You might get a motherboard that's dead on arrival or something like that, which has happened, and or some other part, and then you got to deal with sending that all back and blah blah blah. And oh, shit. You know, I never cared enough to do all my wiring fancy like, and yeah, I was always concerned that I would short something out, and just, I don't know. So obviously, long story short, I did not build my new computer. I could have, but I was like, well, you know, back in the day, like 10, 15 years ago, you certainly got really screwed buying a pre-built computer. Like, there was a big difference. And so it just made far more economical sense to build your own. But now, I don't think it's as big of a difference. Still probably a little bit cheaper, but not as bad as it used to be. Because now you have all these companies. And you have all this, you know, competition in the pre-built market and for gaming PCs, and you know, everyone knows how much all these parts cost or can easily look it up. And so, you know, these price checking things, and you know, in the old days when I got my first computer and stuff, it was just like, okay, so what special deal does Dell have this month? And that was it. Damn it. And so recently, Linus Tech Tips, who I don't subscribe to. I'm one of those invisible fans that just checks in periodically and watches their stuff, but for some reason doesn't subscribe. They recently had a series called Secret Shopper. Because whenever they normally have, like, a computer sent to them or something like that, the people sending it know that it's for Linus Tech Tips, and so they'll go the extra mile and make sure everything is, like, perfect. And so they wanted to do it where it was like a secret thing where they had, I don't know, it was like one of their receptionists or accountants or something like that, do all the ordering. And so it was just like an average customer ordering from all these different pre-built companies. And so basically trying to get a $1,500 computer from each of these companies and seeing how their customer support is, and packaging, and bloatware, and value, and all that kind of stuff. It was a pretty cool series. And the winner overall was I Buy Power. And just the other day, Kriparian put out a video where I Buy Power sent him a computer, which it didn't, that alone would not convince me, like, oh, I gotta get I Buy Power now. They sent him a computer. But that was like the catalyst. It was like, I want a computer. I want a new computer. And so I chose I Buy Power because of the Secret Shopper series. And yeah, so I went with I Buy Power, and you know, I haven't received it yet, so it remains to be seen. The ordering process was certainly simple enough, and it is pretty cool. They constantly update you with exactly what's going on with your computer, you know, as they find all the parts and they assemble it, and the quality control and blah blah blah. So that's pretty cool. I went with a fairly top of the line one that's not insane, I guess. Like i9 9900K processor, RTX 2080 Ti graphics card, 64 gigs of RAM. It's got all the cool RGB lighting, because that's very hip nowadays, and liquid cooling. You know, so it's certainly pretty good, but it's not like, holy shit, $9,000 computer with 7 graphics cards and shit like that. That'll be the next computer I get. Someday. Yeah, so hopefully, you know, it all arrives and it's all good and I'm happy and I can recommend I Buy Power. I think I was supposed to... Oh no, okay. So yeah, anyways, often when you buy a graphics card, they give you some free games, depending on the newness of the graphics card. And the 2080 Ti is pretty new. So I got Battlefield 5 and Anthem. So yeah, the 2080 Ti is a $1,300 car, so it's not like a... It's more of a perk than like an incentive.
Now we can jumpstart the power to get the beacon functional.
So, you know, Battlefield 5 I'm definitely gonna fire up and try out. Maybe not for a long period of time, because I usually don't like to play Battlefield games alone for too long. But yeah, Anthem I'm definitely going to try out. Maybe we'll do some videos. I think I have enough of a fan base now where if I wanted to play with some fans, I probably could arrange that. We'll see. We'll see. I'm hearing good things, so it'll be good to try out the new PC. Yeah, so that's that, I guess.
100%. I recommend you exit the chamber immediately.
Over on the Exploring series,
Great job, Cooper. The power is back. All right, we got power. Open those shutters. Let the test get up and running.
I had a video on,
Diagnostic complete. Power 100%.
Initiate dish targeting reset.
I think the number, no, I don't even remember the number, 2935, was that it? Or is it 2835, or, I don't know. It was the one school one.
Fault detected. Emergency shutdown.
I don't need to tell you exactly what, you either saw it or you didn't. But that was pretty well received. A lot of people seem to like that one. I was really worried that, you know, I didn't explain enough of it, but really no one commented at all about that, whether they had read the article or not. So, I'm pretty happy with that.
Pilot, this situation could use your skills.
I hope you're up for another trip to hell, Cooper.
I also put out a video on Warhammer 40k creating a Space Marine, which I thought was just a cool topic to do, and it seems people agree. That's definitely getting some buzz and some interest, and apparently I didn't fuck up anything too bad, so that's all good.
Be careful.
And then this tonight or tomorrow, whatever, I've got a video on SCP-096 coming out,
Memory recalls this pilot as an exceptional fighter, proven well during
which, you know, it's an OG.
Once fractured.
It's an OG SCP, old school from the early days.
conducted by the
A lot of people are very familiar with it. It's a very popular SCP still. So,
My scans detect a functioning uplink targeting module, 428 meters northeast. My analysis indicates a threat.
I always feel like
I can throw you across the gap.
when I put out a video
That's insane.
about this, a super well-known SCP, it's like, who's
3 knots,
watching this that doesn't know about it?
range 95 meters.
And if you know about it, I mean, it's not that...
Kilograms.
Like, for 173, I at least included a bunch of tails. And so, you know, most people are not familiar with the tails, at least.
Good throw.
You're welcome, pilot. Good luck over there.
But for 096, I really just took the SCP report and, like, you know, the incident thing, and I don't know. I never know what to think, so we'll see how it goes.
Get to the beacon now. Find the kleinen Mann und lass mich nicht hängen.
Fuck!
IMC dropships have geolocation.
We'll see how it goes. I'm sure it'll be fairly popular. I'm actually not putting out a Warhammer 40k video this week.
Counting on you. Let's go.
For shame, for shame. I
This is Richter. Get to the beacon now.
just decided to take a break this week.
Lass mich nicht hängen.
You know, I've been putting out 2 videos a week now for quite a while. And to just, you know, to avoid any burnout, I gave myself a few days off. Which is, it's a common problem for creators, internet creators, Twitch and YouTube and stuff like that, to just sort of get stuck in this mindset where you just feel this obligation to keep pushing out content over and over and over, again and again and again. You just get in this cycle. And you know, I certainly debated about whether or not I wanted to skip 1 week of having 2 videos. Not skip an entire week of videos, but just have only 1 video for that week. Even though when I announced the Warhammer series, I said I was not guaranteeing 2 videos a week. But yeah, you feel this obligation towards your viewer base. And that like Twitch especially, that just destroys some people. Because if you're not streaming, you know, you're not attracting new viewers. And so that's how they get in this situation where they stream for, you know, 12 hours a day. So, yeah. Oop. I'm sure I'll be fine. Some people will probably be disappointed, but it's just, it's 1 week. It's just the 1 week. Yeah, so I'll be working on a video this week for SCP on Dr. Bright. Which, in the meme community for SCP, is certainly very popular. They love Dr. Bright. I'm not really sure why. The way that they present the character is not particularly interesting. It's more just like, it's just a doctor for the Foundation that just has no limits and just does whatever they want, and it's, I don't know. He's like this vessel for memes. I don't know. And I feel like there's going to be plenty of people that are going to be very disappointed by my video on Dr. Bright. Because I'm not going to make any references to jokes or memes or humor of any kind. From what I understand, the guy, like the actual author that created Dr. Bright, doesn't really care for any of the humor side of it. From what I remember, I seem to recall him tweeting something about that. Like, I think he said, like, you know, they can do whatever they want with his character, and, you know, they can obviously make all these humorous things, but that's not, like, his version of the character. So, I'll, of course, be focusing on his version of the character. And sort of their history with the Foundation and their family's history with the Foundation. Which is kind of tragic. Like, his brother is just... it's pretty tragic. So, it's going to be definitely different than what most people probably expect from clicking on a Dr. Bright video. But, good. Let them learn something. Okay, moving on. I did play a non-RPG this week. I wouldn't necessarily call it a board game, but it's something to that effect. On Friday, I had a party to celebrate 250,000 subscribers. And this was a party that I threw in my own honor, which would normally be pretty egotistical, but I did pay to have Qdoba cater it for everyone, so I think it balances out. It's okay. So yeah, I invited everyone I knew, and I had Qdoba cater the whole thing, and we had some drinks, and it was a good time. Everyone seemed to enjoy it. And so I figured, I've got all these people here that are here for a party in my honor. I'm buying them dinner. So they really, you know, they really owe me here. And I figured I have this board game, per se, called Two Rooms and a Boom, that I've had for years now, and I've never gotten to play. Because it's a party game that can accommodate just an ass ton of people. And requires, like, really like a minimum of 10 or 12 people. And so that situation has really just never come up. But here I thought I got everyone I know here. Not everyone I know, but everyone I know that came. Plenty of people. I can force them to play Two Rooms and a Boom. And so that's what we did. I think, well, we played 4 games. And the number of people for the games fluctuated between like 21 and 25. I think the peak was 25 people. And so for a board game, a party game that can accommodate 25 people, it went really well. Like everyone liked it. Everyone enjoyed it. And really they wanted to keep playing. So, Two Rooms and a Boom, it's a very simple game at its core. Basically, everyone is given a secret card. Okay, they know the identity of their card. And then they are randomly... Whoa. They're randomly distributed or separated into 2 rooms. Okay, so no one knows who anyone is, you know, and everything's just sort of random. Damn it. And the cards either show you as you're on red team or blue team. And the red team has one person as the bomber. And the blue team has one person as the president. Now, the red team, they want to get the bomber and the president in the same room at the end of the game. Because people are going to be moving between rooms throughout the game. So they want to find out who their bomber is, because they don't know. They want to find out who the president is. And they want to make sure that they're in the same room at the end of the game. Because then they win. And obviously, conversely, the blue team wants to make sure the president and the bomber are in separate rooms. So really, everyone wants to find out, you know, who's on their team, who's not on their team, who's the president, who's the bomber. And so it's pretty much a social deduction game. There's line involved and so on and so forth. And you can show your card to other people publicly, or you can card share with other people, where you sort of go privately and you both show it to each other at the same time. And the base game, which is what I've been describing, has 3 rounds. They're each like, you know, a couple minutes long or so. And at the end of each round, the leader in each room, which is appointed randomly or by majority or whatever, the leader picks a small number of hostages to send over to the other room. And so this is how, in the base game, people switch between rooms, is if they are picked as a hostage. So you know, again, you're trying to figure out who the president is, who the bomber is, and you're trying to make sure that through the hostage process, they end up in the same room or in different rooms, depending on your team. So the base game is pretty simplistic, and, you know, it can devolve pretty easily into just everyone just showing each other their cards, and, you know, if you don't have really an experienced group of bluffers and things like that. There is, if you have an odd number of people with the base game, you include a gray card who's on neither team. And their goal is to, again, figure out who the president is, who the bomber is. Because at the end, before you reveal everything, the gambler has to decide which team they think is going to win. Or, you know, which team won, basically, before everything is revealed. And so that's the base game. We played 3 games of that. Everyone really enjoyed it. I think I might have won only one of the base games what we played. Because most of the people that we were playing with were like my family members that had never played a social deduction game in their life. And so I tried to be very vocal about things and really just take the hold of everything. And, you know, just be up in everybody's grill to just get them in the mindset. But that led, of course, to no one trusting me, as usual. And so I won the first game because I think it was really by sheer luck, to be honest. And then people wisened up. And then the fourth game we played, we dropped down to like, I think it was like 16 people or something like that. Because people were leaving. And I didn't feel comfortable like throwing in all sorts of different roles because there's a lot of different role cards. But I threw in the ambassador role on either team, on both teams, where that person is allowed to freely walk between rooms at any time. So they are really good for like gathering information because they can just go from room to room to room to room and quickly communicate everything that's going on. So that's pretty helpful. And that that was a good that was a good game. I was on the blue team, and I was the leader. And the room that I started in was mostly pretty much all red. Like, it was pretty much all red. So I was in the lion's den. But they had forgotten the rule about you being able to usurp a leader by just voting for someone different. They had forgotten about it. So they apparently just thought once you had a leader, that was it. And I wasn't about to correct him because, again, I was outnumbered.
I'm engaging hostile infantry.
And so the first round ends. Some new hostages come over. One of them, which is my aunt. And she walks in and she says, "This is the red room." Because apparently, you know, she had just come from a room where pretty much everyone was blue.
I'm engaging hostile infantry.
And so I'm sitting there on like a couch. You know, I'm like the only one with a blue card in the room. And so I'm like, yeah, it's a red room. she thought I meant everyone was red, including me. But I was just like, yeah, it's a red room. I wasn't really even trying to be that deceitful. But as it turns out, I was. Because she immediately said, oh, okay, I'm the bomber. And with, you know, if I was playing it with my friends or something like that, I'd be like, okay, that's a bullshit lie. But since I was playing with my family, and she said it so quickly and so, like, earnestly, I knew she was telling the truth. And so I just immediately said, oh, well, I'm blue. So, and they had all realized how much she had fucked up. And so here's where the point where if they had just picked a new leader, like, they could have salvaged the game. You know? I don't think they would ever send me over. But remember, this was the game with ambassadors. So Studs was our blue team ambassador. So he was constantly checking in. And so I just told him that she was the bomber. And knowing that for certain after the first round is really powerful. So even if I was not the leader, the blue team would now know exactly who the bomber was for the rest of the game. And even if they didn't really know who the president was, they could assume the president was in that other room, because I was the only blue here. So, yeah, we ended up winning. It was a colossal failure for red team. And it was pretty fun.
Critical systems are functioning properly. And despite your self-evaluation, I'm certain Captain Linus
So yeah, I'm glad I finally got to play 2 rooms in a boom. If you have a whole shit ton of people, even if they're not gamers, I recommend it. You can get everyone involved, like, really easily. I think it's way better than like Werewolf or something for having a bunch of people play. So we liked it. So I think for like every 250k, I'm gonna have some sort of party.
Protocol 2 mission update.
So I think for 500k, I'll probably like rent out a bowling alley or something.
A throw combined with additional climbing is
Why not? Why not? Yeah. Okay, so role-playing. I did not play Dungeon World this week, so the new campaign is going to have to wait. But we did start the new campaign of Dungeon Crawl Classics on Roll-Manging. And so I finally got to play in a funnel. And it was probably the weirdest funnel session that's ever existed. Because we didn't have a single death. Not one. It's got to be a record. But to be clear, we didn't really get into the funnel. Normally, and you know, I sent Ziggy a Dungeon Crawl Classics funnel pre-written thing that I had not read. And normally, a funnel is just like, it starts you at like in the dungeon or like out in front of the dungeon or something like that. And it's all very clear that, you know, you're peasants, and for some reason, whatever, you're going into this dungeon. You are risking your lives for whatever reason. Whether you're rescuing somebody, or you're trying to prove something, or you're trying to get your treasure to survive, you know, or whatever the case might be. Usually it's not that big of a deal.
Hypothesis. The dish will automatically orient itself once the new module is installed.
But it kind of puts you right in there. And that's what I was expecting. And so I was expecting, we'll just get thrown into a dungeon and we'll have to do the dungeon, and that's the funnel.
Got you.
This one was a little different, though, and I don't know if it was a good or a bad thing that it was different, but it was different.
Get back here and we'll send this message to the fleet.
This one started us off in like a town. Well, I'll explain. So we were a group of peasants. There were 16 of us, and we were traveling across the countryside for an unknown reason. Basically, we were heading to this one town, but we don't know why. It's not explained why. It's not explained where we came from or anything like that. It's just, we're coming to this town. Deal with it. So as we near the town, we see a procession traveling sort of down the road. And this procession has a bunch of, like, other peasants. It also has some guards. You know, some armored folk. And at the front of the procession is a woman that is sort of, like, tied up. And I don't think the module intends for you to, like, try and stop them or anything like that. But we pretty much, like, asked them about it, and we followed them. And basically we learned that this village is sort of plagued by a great beast. Some beast is causing problems for them. And they have found that the best way to placate this beast is to offer it a sacrifice every few days on this hill near the town. And so they have, like, a lottery every 3 days with everyone's name in it, and whoever gets picked out of the lottery has to go out there. So it's basically, you know, Saint George and the dragon. And so they left the girl tied up in the hill. And they were all planning to leave, and we of course wanted to stick around. We were hoping to see this beast. It was, you know, like King Kong, take this girl. But they all left, and they strongly advised that we leave as well, because it is dangerous. The beast is dangerous, and if you are not back by nightfall to the town, the town's gates stay closed. No one is let in. But, you know, you really want to see this beast. So,
Good to hear you guys are still down there.
well, now let me explain my characters. You know, we did character creation, which is pretty quick and pretty easy for a funnel. It's all very random. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to have like my classic characters
Captain Ty last
as a lineup all at the same time, because I've never gotten to do that before, and I thought a funnel is the perfect time to see who survives and which one of these classic characters I'm going to play as. But it does strongly depend on the stat lineups. You know, it has to make sense. So my first character,
This rating now exceeds 90%. Request permission to retain this link.
he had a decent strength and a high stamina. I was like, okay, we got Ovum. Done. Perfect. And he ended up rolling up as a human, but Ziggy did allow me to say that he's a half-orc, because it doesn't really make a difference. Okay, good. Second character, 17 intelligence. I was like, alright, we got Artemis. Perfect. The third character was sort of middle of the road. Pretty much average all around. I really wanted Frederick Zoller in there at some point, but I didn't get a high personality. So I'm like, okay, we'll just go with Gug. He'll be Gug. That's fine. He should have a higher intelligence, but whatever. But then the fourth character, I got a 5 strength and a 3 agility. A 3 agility. And I was like, there's only one character that makes sense. And this guy is Sloopy Dunbar.
Your mission is to capture the Ark before it can leave the airbase.
So we've got Ovum, Artemis, Gug, and Sloopy. It's perfect. Perfect. Now your occupation and your race are randomized as well. I got a very clutch. I got Dwarf for Gug, so that was great. And also I got Halfling for Artemis, which really does work. I could just be a human and say he's young, but Halfling just sort of is like, okay, he's a little dude. It works out.
Excessive damage. Warning. Warning.
Like I said, Ovum got human, so that's fine. He's a half-orc. And then Sloopy got elf. So, the elven Sloopy. And I figure he's really like the ugliest, fattest elf in existence. With like a mustache or something, you know, just barely an elf. Like, elves would not accept him whatsoever, but that's Sloopy. Okay, so all set. So I figured Sloopy with, like, you know, 2 HP, 3 agility, he's gonna die quick. He's not gonna live long. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna have my 3 normal characters head back to town, and they're gonna be safe. But I'm gonna have Sloopy stay outside, and he's gonna watch. He likes to watch. Because he is an elven navigator. That was his job, which is really funny. And so he starts with a spyglass. So I figured I'd have him sort of be in the distance, and he's gonna watch the hill and see how things play out. And everyone else followed my lead and sent back a bunch of their characters. But there were a few of us hanging outside of the town. And we see this great wolf come out of the woods and comes up to the woman and just devours her. Not devours her. Specifically does not devour. But it kills her. It like slaughters her violently. But it does not eat her. So it's not doing this because it like needs to feast. It's doing this just for the pleasure of the kill.
Warning. Our reactor is unstable. Replacement battery required.
So I think Ziggy has Sloopy roll a luck roll to see if we get seen by the wolf. And Sloopy actually has a really high luck, which makes sense because, you know, he has to stay alive somehow, so he does so purely by luck. So the wolf does not spot us. And we head back towards the town, and sure enough, the gates are completely closed. And the guards say, you know, by order of the Jarl, the gates do not open until morning. And so, you know, Sloopy is not bothered by this. He figures we can just camp out here, have a campfire, tell scary stories. And so we basically just camp out right in front of the gate.
Into the tunnel.
But we need wood. So I think a couple of them head off into the woods to get some wood. But they quickly come across some, like, swamp jackals. Which, I don't even know what they are, but probably could kill some peasants. So they just immediately turn around. Meanwhile, Sloopy goes up to the gate, or to, like, the wall of the town, and starts, like, picking away at the walls with his knife to get some wood. And, of course, they tell him to stop. He doesn't stop. And so they hit him with a sling. With a slingshot, they hit him with a rock. And Ziggy had said at, like, the start of the session during character creation that slings...
Store 2, lock this area down. BT, Pilot Cooper, you're with me. Let's go. Watch out, IST Titans up ahead.
I think he said that slings...
You lost pilot? I'll show you the way home.
When you hit someone with a sling, you can either do regular damage or you can do subdual damage. So you can just knock him out if you want. But then during the session, when he hits me with the rock, he says that slings can never kill somebody. He says they only do subdual damage. I feel like he made this up because I could not find it anywhere in the rulebook. I think he really just did not want Sloopy to die at this point. Which is fine. So, yeah, I get clonked in the head with a rock, and I instantly go unconscious for 9 hours. So, as far as Sloopy is concerned, you know, it's just a quick way to go to sleep. Oh, God. Yeah, so the night passes, nothing happens. The rest of the guys that went into town earlier, they go to the town square, and they find, in the middle of the town square, there is a locked box.
Let's keep moving.
And it really confused me, because it's like, you know, why is this here? Is it a challenge? Do they want us to steal from this locked box? Is it like a trap and, you know, as soon as you try to open it, you just die? Or, you know, who knows what? But I figured, okay, I've got Gug here. He's the type of guy that would definitely try to open this, so... He goes up to it with his hammer, and he swings his hammer at it. And, of course, I roll a 1. So we got to learn the fumble rules. This was the only attack roll made in the entire session, by the way.
There's a lift up ahead.
Well, there was 2, because I completely whiffed on the hammer swing, so I had to do it again. And I hit it, but I just sort of, like, dinged off. It didn't do anything. And immediately some priest fellow comes out and explains that the lockbox is for the lottery. So it holds everyone's names in there so that it can't be tampered with.
Thing and get home.
And so we debate pissing all over this box,
You'll have time to get the ark.
just on principle. But we decide against it. We head into the inn, and we get some rooms and some food and blah blah blah. While we're doing that, there is a bard that is performing in the inn, and one of Mert's characters apparently is the type that would very closely listen to a bard. So he's listening to the bard. And Ziggy gives him like 3 stories that the bard is talking about. It's all pertaining to the beast. But he says 3 specific things that Mert's character catches on to. Now, I'm familiar enough with adventures and things like that. I know how this works. It's a random table that probably has like 20 things. And some of them are true, and most of them are false, and you don't know what is what. Only the DM knows. Like, I've seen it plenty of times. I know how it works. But one of the things that the bard says that I latch onto is that it's rumored that one of the Jarl's advisors secretly controls the beast.
Nice shooting. Keep moving.
Now, as it turns out, this was probably bullshit. But, you know, I've seen Brotherhood of the Wolf, so this is not a completely foreign concept. So the next day, Mert tells us about this stuff. Tells us what he had heard. And I'm just incredulous. No, I'm not incredulous. I'm shocked is what I am. That this bard would just go around and sing about how one of the Jarl's advisors, so, you know, a powerful man in this town, is heavily involved in the greatest crisis this town has ever known. And what's more, he tells us later that this advisor that he's talking about is known as like a real shifty, like crafty bastard, and no one likes him because he's just sort of untrustworthy. And it's like, and you're you're singing about this guy and either, you know, outing his secret plan, or perhaps worse, making completely false accusations. Like, that is slander. And this guy's gonna fuck you up. So I'm like, if this is true, like, we gotta learn if this is true. So the next morning, I'm just like, okay, drop everything. Drop everything. Find this bard. We need to find this guy. And it's not difficult, because this is a town of like 300 people. So we quickly find this guy's house, and we all just knock on the door. You know, 16 of us. And I basically tell him what I just told you. I'm like, I can't believe that you would even do this. Why, how can you think you can get away with this? Like, why would you do that? Why? And he admits that he does not believe it to be true. And again, it's just like, why? Why are you saying this then? Why would you risk your life and your livelihood over this false rumor that you don't even believe in? And he says that, you know, he's just a storyteller, and it's just like, okay, but this isn't like some long lost ancient history. This is a real crisis your town is going through. And again, this is just a random table of just rumors and stuff that Ziggy rolled on. And I'm just going way too much into it, and he has to like improvise, and it's just like, yeah, I know, but you put me in this situation, this is what I'm gonna do. And so he admits that he did not create this rumor. He actually heard it from someone else. I'm like, ah, plot thickens. Maybe this is true. And so he tells us that he heard it from a gentleman by the name of Master Jenkins, who is a less than reputable man that operates out of the local shithole bar. So he's a criminal, basically, is what this guy's saying.
Battery essential. Tighten down.
And we're like, okay, well, we're gonna find this guy and we're gonna talk to him about it. And so we go to this bar, and we do end up eventually meeting this guy. And even he admits that it's probably not true. Because he doesn't really tell us, like, where he heard this. And I ask him, like, you know, if we went public with this, you know, and we really brought this to the forefront that this guy is controlling the beast, I asked him if the public would, like, believe it and would they act on it. And he admitted that they probably would, because the Jarl seems to like this advisor, and the people really like the Jarl. I'm like, okay, that makes things a little complicated.
Let's go, pilots. We have no other option. We need to catch that ship.
And so I start asking about the lottery box. And we learn that everybody's name is in there, even the Jarl,
Get to that ramp.
which is pretty wild.
Bliss, this is Sloan. The Ark is headed your
And
way. I'll let Viper take you from here. See you soon.
so I start concocting this plan to rig the lottery box so that the name pulled out of it, guaranteed, is the name of the advisor. So that if he is picked and he does control the beast, he's not going to die. So we're going to know something's up. But if he's picked and he doesn't control the beast, then he'll die. And then we'll know that, okay, he wasn't controlling the beast. But also, we got rid of a shifty bastard that nobody likes. So either way, it works out. So I don't know how much of this adventure talks about this lottery box. Probably not as specific as we're getting into here. But, you know, we needed to learn exactly how the lottery process worked and whether or not the names are already in the box. I think the other guys were saying that the names were not in the box. They only put the names in the box when the lottery happens. But if that were the case, there would be no reason to lock the box. So I was convinced that the names were always in the box. And they just add the names, new names, whenever they, you know, need to. Because people were in the town were like, oh, if you stick around for long enough, you're going to have to add your names to the box. So the names are, we confirmed with this guy that the names are in the box right now. So the plan became, okay, we go in there, we steal all the names from the box, and we replace them with fabricated, like, copies that all contain just one guy's name. Because we learned that when the thing is, when the lottery is done, the Jarl just reaches blindly into the box and pulls out a name. So no one would be able to confirm or deny that all the names are the same, right? So the problem is the name is written by and confirmed at the lottery by the town scribe. So he has written all these names. He knows his own handwriting, and he looks at the piece of parchment when the lottery is done, so he can confirm that, ah, yes, I wrote this name. This is legitimate. So to do this, we would need to have the town scribe on our side, whether, peacefully or non-peacefully. So the plan was to go and buy a bunch of vellum, which was the material that all the names are written on. Then get some ink, get some a quill, get to the town scribe and convince him one way or another to write the advisor's name 300 times, or give or take. The box doesn't need to contain like the exact same amount of pieces of paper. It just has to be pretty close. So I went to the tanner to get vellum, and he did have enough vellum that we needed, which was good. At this point, I should tell you what the funnel is supposed to be, all right? Just so you understand. The funnel is supposed to be that we find out that this beast is plaguing this village, and the only way to kill the beast, because they have tried to kill the beast, and every time it like reforms and respawns, so that they cannot kill it with their weapons. But there is a legend of a wolf spear in the nearby tomb that is supposedly capable of killing the beast. And so what you're supposed to do as the peasants, the level 0 characters, is go through the tomb, die a whole bunch of times, get the wolf spear, and then kill the beast, and baha, you're level 1. So we're about 2 hours or so into this session, and we're not even thinking about the tomb. My first plan was actually to like trap the beast in like a pit where he's not dead, but he can't escape. And so I think eventually probably he would starve, perhaps, although I don't know, he doesn't eat the people for food, so I don't know exactly how he works. Maybe he would never starve, but I don't know. That shifted when we got into this whole lottery box thing. Just because of that one random rumor that he rolled on that table. So we bought all the vellum. I think we used all of Mert's money because he had left at this point. We took too long. So we used up like all of his money to buy the vellum. It was expensive. But then we needed ink and a quill. And there were only a few ways to get that. One is from like the town scribe himself. 2 was from the church. And 3 was from the old witch that lived in town. I don't know why she lives in town. This still perplexes me, but she does live in town. In like the wealthier district or whatever. And so we decided that we just can't have this happen where the town scribe stays in like the town hall, in the great hall with the Jarl. He's always in there. He rarely leaves. So we just couldn't, I just didn't want to risk like having this incursion into the great hall. That would lead to just bad times. We needed to do this when the town scribe is out of his office, out of the great hall, where we can take him to some seedy place and have him do this. So that's why we needed our own ink and quill. So I decided, we're not going to go into the great hall and try and get ink and a quill. And I don't want to mess with the church because they're a bunch of assholes. So let's try the old witch. She's got to be good. So we visit the old witch, and we can see sort of right away that she does have magical power. Like the interior of her home is way bigger than the outside, and I think she was doing some like fiery magical effects with like her loom or something like that. So clearly she's got some sort of power. And so we talked to her about the beast. And she says, she laughs at the whole concept of the beast. And she says, yeah, it's no threat to me. You know, my home is protected by a spell. And I could kill the beast at will if I wanted. But she doesn't seem to care about any of the people in the town. Which, again, sort of perplexes me why she lives here. And I was wondering, like, you know, what does she do for money? How does she pay for food? Does she pay taxes to the Jarl? Like, why does she live... None of these questions are answered in the adventure, which I'm sure is like 90% of it is just like detailing the tomb. So anyways, you know, we asked her what would happen if her name was picked out of the lottery, and she laughed and she said she doesn't even think her name is in the lottery. I think she said specifically like, the Jarl would never do that. And it's like, we were like, oh, hold on. You're exempt from the lottery? Like, everyone's involved. Like, does the town know that you're exempt? And so she sort of shifted then, and she said, well, I don't know if my name is in the box or not. And so then it sort of shifted. And so then I started thinking, like, okay, well, if we pick the advisor, and we rig it with the advisor's name, either way, that doesn't get rid of the beast for us. But if we pick the witch, we rig it so the witch gets picked, and she can kill the beast, you know, if she's telling the truth. We could resolve the whole beast situation just this way. And, you know, if she can't, she's lying and she dies, well, oh well. We can raid her home for shit. So now I shifted. I'm like, I'm going to rig the box with the witch's name. So we got the ink and the quill from her. She didn't want money. She wanted hair. Specifically, she wanted elven hair. And so, of course, Sloopy was the the sacrificial lamb. So she shaved his head. So now he's a bald, fat elf. But we got our ink and we got our quill. And we have our vellum, so all we need is the town scribe now. And we learn that he rarely leaves the Great Hall, but he does, on occasion, go to the inn. Because he likes to hear the bard. So we sent in Thomas, one of Thomas's characters, to go into the Great Hall, talk to the town scribe, pretend that you need like a letter written to your wife or something back home, and try and convince him to come out that night to go to the inn to hear the bard, and that will jump him on the way, and we'll take him somewhere private, and then we can have him write all the shit to get this witch rigged. And so that's where we ended the session. So we had no combat whatsoever, no deaths, almost really nothing happened. But it was an amazing session. I don't know why. I just love that shit. And it's not like I'm opposed to the tomb. You know, if we had started at the entrance to the tomb, I wouldn't have been like, oh, fuck this, I'm out of here. We would have just gone through the tomb. But this adventure specifically just gave us this town and this unique situation. And so it just wouldn't make sense for our characters to just go plunging into this tomb. You know, we're peasants, right? This isn't even our town. We're visitors. It just, the whole plot is a little ridiculous. And so I would try to find a way that doesn't risk our lives first. Now, if we go through all this, the witch idea fails, she dies or whatever, something happens, and we're really left with no choice than to go into the tomb, we'll go into the tomb, of course. But you know I'm going to try and convince as many people as possible to go with us. Because safety in numbers. So, you know, of course I'm going to try and convince, like, the Jarl's guards and stuff to go in. But barring that, yeah, I'm going to gather up as many townspeople as possible. And be like, yeah, you know, the wolf is going to break through your walls and it's going to kill you all. The only way is if we get this spear, so let's go. So yeah, I think next session there's going to be death. I don't think we can avoid it for that long. But yeah, that's a pretty remarkable funnel session, I would say. No combat, no death. Yeah, it was a proud session. Okay, I guess that about wraps us up. So, check out the 096 video tomorrow. We've got more Final Fantasy 13 and Simulacra coming this week, and probably some Anthem. I'm assuming I'm going to get my new computer this week, so come Friday there'll probably be some Anthem stuff going on, but we'll see. My name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. I'll see you fine folks next week.